prayer, please.
Heavenly Father, we want to take this moment to pause and thank you for all that we've had, for the ability for families to gather for the Christmas season. Pray for those that will be traveling and returning to their respective homes. We pray as always for the board and for the employees of the county, serve that we can work together to continue the business. And we pray that you'll
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lance, would you do the roll call?
Commissioner Pitts.
Here.
Commissioner Toller. Commissioner Foster.
Here.
Commissioner Miller.
Here.
Commissioner Gould.
Moving on the agenda, we have minutes from regular meeting held on November 22nd, 2019. Everybody had a chance to look at those.
You got two of them. Okay.
I'm doing one. Any questions or? Second.
Commissioner Pitts.
Yes.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
Also, we have minutes from regular meeting December 13th, 2019. Again, everybody had a chance to review those. All good? Yep. Motion to approve.
Make motion approved.
Second.
Commissioner Pitts.
Yes.
Commissioner Toller.
Yes.
Commissioner Foster.
Yes.
Commissioner Miller.
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
Public comments. Okay, moving on. Committee reports.
Had a Shawnee Development board meeting. We got into board training a little bit and our committee responsibilities that we have being on the board with Williams and the things to develop. Just talk a little bit about Christmas and the food pantry. A lot of people planned, a lot of people took part in that. The LMP building people that donated the building down in Karnak for the food pantries for all the counties donated $5,000 for hands for Christmas for everybody, seniors and families and individuals and with income requirements. The Girl Scouts did like 200 bags of food. And of course, the Boy Scouts, when they did their food drive, they also gave food. The ambulance service did a food drive a couple of weeks ago at Kroger, and that was very good. About the same as last year, which was also very good. And we appreciate that from the workers at the ambulance service. We had the food box here, and I know that you took some things out there, and from all the food I saw, it was amazing. I guess that it was down to the point where they agreed to turn people work.
We didn't have a lot last time we dropped off. The county has really participated in our county-wide food drive, so we were able to donate a lot of food, especially this last week before Christmas. So we'll go through January 7th, and I think that they're very appreciative of what they're receiving at this point.
Pretty much so. But a lot of times I talk about seniors here because our referendum's tied to senior services, but we also, Shawnee Development also services like women with small children or families, individuals also. So it's very important. A lot of people just went above and beyond. William back there he donates a lot more time than anybody else. And Paul's got to shake your head a little bit, but he'd be hard to replace too. He does a lot of good work. So, this doesn't really, this is kind of in a different area. But I don't know if y'all saw the story about Gander Mountain RV did a blanket drive for pets. And it took 99 blankets in as a donation for pets, and Union County received 30 of those, so that was awesome. That's all I have.
Okay. Anybody else? Moving on to building permits.
We have two. The first one is parcel number 140011431. It's at 305 VFW Lane for Terrence Walsh. It's a shed, previously subdivided, no floodplain, recommended for approval. And the second one is for parcel number 140011672. It's at 1505 Old Highway 51 North in Anna. Eric and Natalie Biddle. It's for a portable building, previously subdivided, no floodplain, recommended for approval.
Any questions, concerns? Get a motion for the building permits, please.
I'll make it.
Second.
Mr. Pitts?
Yes.
Mr. Toller?
Yes.
Mr. Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Under old business, both items, we're going to continue to table the image trim software contract probably for one more meeting, just to wrap up some final numbers. We've about got it ready to go, just double checking some things. Also, continue to table the collective bargaining agreement with Kenwood, waiting on the final draft. Hopefully, one more meeting. New business, we don't have any bills since it was a short week to approve, so we'll hold that off. Resolution setting certain property tax levies for fiscal year commencing on December 1, 2019, ending November 30th, 2020. This is a yearly housekeeping that we have to do to get our money. So, any questions or concerns about it? I'm not going to read the list of levies that are there for everybody to see. Pretty much basically the same as have been there.
Yep.
I make a motion that we approve the resolution setting certain property tax levies for fiscal year commencing. I'll say.
Mr. Pitts?
Yes.
Mr. Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Gordon?
Next item, again, housework. Resolution certifying 2019 payable 2020 death tax levies. This pertains to our bonds, series 2014, and bonds that we just approved, series 2019. Again, this is a annual deal. Um, I make a motion to certify the 2019 pay for 2020 debt tax levies.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
And as always, once we do that, the next automatic resolution that we do, thankfully, resolution abating certain property tax levies pursuant to the resolution 2019 that we just approved. Basically, what this does and says, we have adequate revenues existing to pay these obligations the coming year, so we abate the property taxes. I'll make a motion, we approve this resolution.
I'll second.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Moving right along, again, yearly housekeeping. Certificate of status of exempt property, non-homestead exemption renewal. This basically is our property that we're exempting as what it amounts to. Not that we have that much, but there's 3 or 4 or 5 on the books, scattered here, there, and everywhere, including courthouse properties. Do I have a motion that we approve this certificate of status exempt property? I'll make the motion.
Second.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Everybody is familiar with where this property is and so forth. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. All right. Meetings are getting too easy, I shouldn't say that. Next item on the agenda, resolution setting Union County government holidays for 2020 calendar year. They're the same as last year, except we are adding day after Christmas, is that right? Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, yeah, Christmas Eve. Which was added to all the contracts, union contracts and so forth. Any questions or concerns about the list of holidays? Motion to approve.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Next item, again, housekeeping resolution setting meeting dates for the Board of Commissioners for the 2020 calendar year. I think everyone saw Angie's email. There was a couple conflicts as far as holidays were concerned, and I think everybody agreed. What were they again, not me reading this list?
I think there was 3 of them that conflicted with holidays, and we either moved them up to the Thursday before the holiday, if the holiday was on a Friday, or if the holiday was Thursday, Friday, we may have moved it to Wednesday, or we may have moved it to Monday.
I think that involved one.
That was only one that we moved to the following Monday, and that was at the end of the year.
Everybody good with this?
Yes.
Make a motion that we approve the resolution setting meeting dates for the Board of Commissioners for 2020 calendar year as provided.
Sorry, you did, okay.
I'll say.
Commissioner Pitts?
Yes.
Commissioner Toller?
Yes.
Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Commissioner Gould?
Next on the agenda, county employee health care contributions effective January 1, 2020.
You don't have a resolution, we just needed to discuss it. Every year, healthcare contributions go up for employees that are in contracts, and it's in the contract. But for those of us that are not in a contract, usually you guys will make a decision and vote on what you want those to increase. We're looking at $60 is what we're recommending to be consistent with other employees in the courthouse. So it would be effective, for anyone that's not covered under a contract, it would be effective January 1st of 2020 to increase the contribution from $50 a month to $60 a month.
We need a motion.
Yes.
Second.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
Yes.
All right. Now somebody else gets to talk for a second. Amendment to State of Illinois Department of Human Services Community Service Agreement.
Good morning.
Good one.
Excuse my voice, I'm a little under the weather. As you might know, about a month ago, we were given the established site status from the state, which essentially says to us, you can now treat any level of offender. In the past, we could only treat clients who had certain felony charges against them. So what this is I think you have the pre-established provider. What it is I've just printed out parts of the contract that changed and highlighted those areas that were added or changed. And all it's saying in the contract is these are the types of clients that we can serve, and these are the expectations of the program now that we've made this change. There's no change to any of the financials, the fiduciary responsibility of the county. This is strictly programmatic and has to do with the clients themselves, and again, what the expectations are for how we perform as a result of that.
So you're good with it, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I was expecting this, so this is just really the housekeeping.
So we need to make a motion to approve this amendment.
Yes, and then a signature, and then I'll put it into the DHS system that was approved by the county.
Well, you're good with it, I'm good.
I am.
I make a motion that we approve this amendment to the State of Illinois Department of Human Services Community Services Agreement as written and presented.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
Yes.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks.
Last item on the agenda, application for a raffle license in unincorporated area of Union County. This is by BFW Post 3455. I think they do this every year, a couple times a year. For a raffle, they have
Every Friday.
yeah, every Friday. What I would suggest, I think this is what we did last year. I personally don't want to pass this for a year. What I'm suggesting is we approve this for 6 months and make another application, just to see how it's, make sure everything's going according.
You take away the hardest thing, ain't it?
I don't know.
No, that's the Elks that does that.
Do what
I
they
think that's the Elks.
Does it, not the
Well, the
Hearts.
Elks and Moose does too.
VFW does it too.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yes. Spider-Man.
The purpose of this on the application is for scholarships and relief funds, but again, I don't have a problem with approving an application for the raffle license. I just want to keep everything in check. And again, if you disagree with me, that's fine. Do it for 6 months at a time. I'm open for suggestions or however you want to do it. So I'm just throwing that out there as an idea.
We'll have to pay the fee twice.
Yeah, they would. But again, isn't that what we did last year? Didn't they do 2 applications, or am I wrong?
It's the board.
They just did one, but the fee is $10.
Yeah,
It's not
But I
significant.
mean, I was just
Yeah.
asking that question.
I mean, you know, if you guys want to approve it for a year, we'll approve it for a year. I'm just throwing that out there as an idea, but that's,
Being an extremely legitimate, well-established organization, it's for scholarships. I think we're just making extra paperwork for us and for them. I'll do whatever they do.
no, I'm, like I said, I just threw that out there, so.
I'd say do it for a year.
Make the motion.
I'll make the motion to do it for a year.
I'll say,
Commissioner Pitts,
yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.
Yes.
All right. Any other business? Nothing for executive session.
Nope.
Motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Second.
Commissioner Pitts,
Yes.
Commissioner Toller,
Yes.
Commissioner Foster,
Yes.
Commissioner Miller,
Yes.
Commissioner Gould.